Hello everyone and welcome to this video. In the cooling feature update notes, we got a bit of a hint that there is going to be a major update announcement revealed next week. So in this video, what I'll be doing is presenting 9 different predictions of what the major update might be, and I'll be ending the video off with my own personal thought of what it's going to be. It's going to be purely a prediction. I might be right, I might be wrong, but we'll find out next week. So stay tuned as we present these ideas. Now, if we look at the update notes that started it all, you could see here it says, next week we are announcing the next major update for Stormworks. It is going to be a very important announcement. It's hard to know exactly how big the impact will be, but I expect it could potentially create a new era of Stormworks. Okay. 2 key things to keep in mind here. Very important announcement. They've not really said that in the past, I think. And this part, expect it could potentially create a new era of Stormworks. Now, I'm sure we all can remember a few months or a year ago when the new compressed gases update came out. That was a new era of Stormworks. Now, I don't say that sarcastically. I literally mean that changed every single creation. It changed how the game behaves. It changed the physics in the game. And we had to go and add these fittings on all of our creations, the gas relief valves, so your people could breathe inside creations. That was something that previously never had to happen. But overall, all the bugs and changes kind of got dealt with and fixed over time. So I wouldn't say we have any lasting problems from that update, but that is definitely, in my opinion, an era-changing update where the whole thing is no longer operating the way we expect it. So that is kind of what I'm using as a basis for these 9 items that I have on my list. Multiplayer system overhaul. Now I'm talking about everything from bugs, optimization, all the way down to how the game works and interacts with multiple players. Now we have these massive bases for dual building, and you could see there's 2 work bays, so you can build with your friends in a sense that you build your creation, they build their creation. But what I'm talking about here is a whole different thing. I'm talking about building things together in real time. So kind of like how we have, Microsoft Word, where you can type into a document at the same time. Imagine you're building something here and you could kind of see the ghost cursor of your friend building something there. So that would be multiplayer building to a whole new level. And then I'm talking about missions that are intended for multiple people. I'm talking about a whole system overhaul that would pretty much encourage and even force the players to work together to complete tasks that were previously never seen before. A new build mode, construction and deconstruction mechanisms. So for this is something that I don't really know about because I actually do love our workbench that we currently have. I think it's a great system, but I do know that the developers in their videos, as well as others, have commented how they would prefer sort of a Minecraft style building where you can, go up to your creation and pull up an inventory and boom, 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 you put a bunch of blocks and stuff. So maybe they can add a new build mode without necessarily removing our workbench, but rather making something happen at the same time, or have the option, like rather than spawning here, a third button that lets you interact build, let's say, and then you can run around and place things rather than using this CAD system. Again, I love the CAD system. I love this game for this system, and I wouldn't necessarily like that other one, but I know that's something people talked about. Now, what that also brings is the ability to construct and deconstruct. So imagine there is a damaged vehicle. You can go and boom, 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 place parts here, place parts there. So that would imply that you can also have damage such that your cells would physically remove and you could have a hole in your creation. Now, I know that changes the physics and all that stuff that developers previously talked about, but again, it would be negligence to not mention at this point that having the ability to build and put together things would also give us a new mechanism of construction and deconstruction. AI overhaul and missions involving NPCs. Now, this was a big thing that the developers talk about often, and I do know that there are definite drawbacks and complications that will come with it, so I'm not going to go into why it could not or could work. But what I will mention is if they ever do add NPCs, even just walking around the map rather than purely existing in, call it, not stationary arrangements. So imagine they exist at least walking around, driving around, kind of sitting like The Sims. Just a very simple interactive style NPC. And then also, in addition to that, then they could add missions involving these NPCs and things. And I definitely think an NPC overhaul would absolutely change the game and overhaul the game, because that's something that we don't currently have. And pretty much, I mean, I don't mind the game, but obviously having people and things moving around and doing stuff would make it a little bit more challenging as well as interesting. A dynamic world and procedural missions. So something that we don't currently have in this game are missions that are multi-faced, meaning they require multiple steps or actions. So not only, go rescue this guy and bring him here, but like a series of elements or things. So for example, if you have an earthquake or a volcano, then you have multiple earthquake or volcano style missions that you have to deal with before you can go and do anything else. The environment would also change based on that. Maybe the missions would purely be that for a certain time until you can handle the situation. So think about something sort of like Mud Runner, where you have to go and rebuild a road, and then you proceed to do all the steps where you rebuild that road, including bring over the asphalt and lay it on the ground and whatever. So it'd be multi-faced steps. And in the case of rescue missions or repairing infrastructure, supply routes, power grids, rebuilding bridges, carrying elements, and all kinds of stuff like that. So not just mission at a time, but a procedural mission in a dynamic world where the game changes and you have to kind of interact and face it as it comes. Mission creation, content, all that good stuff. We do have the add-on editor, but imagine in addition to the add-on editor, you could actually add lakes, add ponds, add rivers, change the way the ground is, add bridges, all that good stuff, not just putting your creations in. So that would be something that would be a whole new era of the game, because in essence now none of the islands would be the same for anybody. You can go and remodel it and change it and make it however you like. So that would change the way the game is. That would change potential missions. It would change industries, worlds, all kinds of stuff. So you then have the ability to do all of that with one swoop. Again, I don't think this one is going to happen, and people have commented as such, but again, have to mention it because that is a groundbreaking revolution to the game and would change it drastically. This one I really like, and it is crew management. Now, it's not AI NPCs in a term of the people running around the world, but it's training and making players or crew that you could then interact with and have them accomplish certain tasks. So imagine you can train a firefighter. Imagine you could train someone to drive your ship. Imagine you can train a medic that will go and help people out. So you get the ability to find staff, find a team, recruit them, train them, and then manage them. And of course, it doesn't have to be them walking around your ship and going to the quarters, but you could, in essence, walk them to a seat and put them down. And if he senses a fire, he's going to put out the fire. If he senses an obstacle, he's going to avoid the obstacle. So in a sense of a person controlling the ship or whatever. So yeah, it's a little far-fetched, and I think I already went into this, and I think that this also something they said they would not do just because of the complexity. But again, I have to mention having, engineers to repair things, medics for rescue missions, even pilots, stuff like that would definitely change the game and would be something worth calling a new era of Stormworks for sure. And last but not least, a VR control to the game, a VR way of viewing the game, interacting, and seeing this firsthand. So imagine you put on your VR goggles or glasses, and now you are the character, and you could go and walk around, interact with things, see things, save people. funny enough, I do remember the developers saying that they fear that this type of thing would induce headaches and people complaining, because if you're on a ship rocking in the sea with the lightning and all those different effects and the waves, they may feel sick, and fair enough, they really might, but that would change the way the game is interactable, and it would definitely add sort of a new visual aspect to everything that's happening, including a new sort of realism that you then can interact and become the character that you are using. The addition of sails and making proper sailboats would be revolutionary and groundbreaking, especially considering up until now we did receive a couple of different sort of physics style updates, and I'm talking about the fishing nets. So currently with the fishing nets, you can go and add them and they will spawn and pretty much behave as you would expect. Now in the case of sails, if you could go and create a fishing net sail type thing that you could then control, interact with, and pretty much use, that would be no different, and it would add a whole new style of movement. You see, that's my terrible sailboat, but pretty much if the net was a sail or a mesh, that could be interacted the same way that water can interact with the net currently. Well, if it could then be a sail that interacts with the wind, and then by you positioning it, rotating, pivoting the sail, you can actually harness that wind power and make it move and pretty much give you power. So imagine enabling wind power in addition to the current solar and obviously diesel, nuclear, whatever. So this would be harnessing wind power, maybe even having actual propellers or wind turbines that you could mount on your vehicle to whether power a generator or power the vessel, but utilizing wind power to some extent, including sails, would be pretty revolutionary and would bring about a whole new means of vehicle power. Character needs and survival elements. I'm talking about food, I'm talking about water, and I'm talking about rest. So in addition to having our little health bar when you get injured, the game would add now the needed element of eating. So you'd have to find your way to a store. Maybe you could use one of the gas stations on the map to buy food. Maybe they'd add grocery stores. And you could, of course, fish. So now the fishing rod and the fishing element of the game would no longer be kind of a very slow way of making money. Because, of course, yes, you can go and you can fish slowly with the fishing rod. But imagine now if you could also fish and you eat your fish. So whether you cook it, cool it, and to be honest, I can see that this works really well with the new cooler update of having a fridge. So maybe they tie it in and have it such that you got to cool off your food or make sure it's kept so it doesn't go spoiled or rotten. But anyway, having the food element, having clean water, having to put water tanks, having to have maybe even showers that you can rinse off radiation or dirt and things, or just having rest, like maybe your screen pulses or your health slowly goes down if you're super tired. So then you have to physically put your character to bed. You can't just go on forever. So anyway, I think that needs and survival elements would be a welcome addition to the game and definitely would be an overhaul, especially with what they said about having to look at the impact in the game. I believe that one is one of those things they'd have to definitely look at and see how it really behaves and interacts with the game. So next week we're going to find out what it is that they are going to release and say is going to be the next major update. Hopefully it's one of the items on my list. Let me know in the comments if you have any more of your own ideas or suggestions for the developers. Of course, I don't expect them to use or want to use any of these, but these are merely predictions, guesses, and my estimate of what potentially can be and what we can see in the game. Now, which one do I think it's going to be out of my 9 items or 9 predictions? Well, I think it's going to be the one that requires food, water, and rest. Because the game is currently laid out in such a way that it is talking about survival. But not only is there survival in the game, you know, your health and whatnot, but there is the fact that you have to have water, you have to have food, you have to have sleep, and whatever else things. Now, there are super realistic games that are intended to be, you know, real life simulators, and I'm talking about games like Scum, where you have to even use the washroom and stuff to prevent your character from falling ill. But that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm just talking about a very basic way of having sort of some elements of the survival. So in addition to rescuing and stuff, you have to plan ahead. So in the case of this little RV, we have a bed so we can sleep, we have a little stovetop, and this could be a fridge. So maybe in the game none of that's going to matter, and you just have to fish a fish out of the water, or otherwise go buy food at a gas station that you consume just like you consume a health pack. But maybe in addition to the health pack and stuff, there's going to be another little row, and we'll have to make our character happy, make them warm, make them clean, make them safe. And that might be that cooling update that we just received, telling us that we're going to have refrigerators, or telling us we're going to have to, you know, keep our character cool and not overheat them and have them sweating really hard, as well as in the Arctic conditions, of course, providing heaters and whatnot. So that is my prediction. Might be totally off base. We'll find out in a week's time what it's going to be, but until then, I just wanted to present that and tell you what I think it is and see what you think it's going to be. So thank you all for watching this video. Stay tuned for more videos, stay tuned for more creations, and as always, happy Stormworksing. I really appreciate all your support, all your views. I appreciate the server boosters. Thank you so much for keeping that going. All the fans, everybody, pretty much. I'm just so thrilled to be making these videos and having the outreach and people commenting and helping people, that it really just makes it awesome. So thank you all, and until next time.